all your value once you dealt with all the dirt. Backing up slowly from these diamonds and pearls, quote unquote. Fat lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. Back to the scene cause it was pride before the fall, and now it's just over.
Yo, well, the video is over. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I'm unmuted. Yeah, well, I'm unmuted. The video is over, but we're just checking out some game theory, breaking down some game theory on how this World War III, you know, is affecting a whole bunch of the globe, a whole bunch of the world. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, you know, yeah, there are concepts that we learn about in terms of, you know, GCC theories, GCC areas, areas that are just like in alignment with Western ideologies and therefore are connected to, you know, the US military, and you know how we find a whole lot of the US military base across the Middle Eastern areas. You know what I'm saying? And you know, learning the fact that, you know what, actually, because since there's these two sides within the religious aspect of Islam, you know what I'm saying, like the religious aspect of the Middle Eastern environments, right? There's like these two flavors of Islam, bro, of like just Muslims, right? The Shias, the Sunnis being the aspect of the religion that is Western influenced, you know what I'm saying, have, you know, practiced a whole lot of Western ideologies and principles and shit like that. And then we have what's called the Shias, the Muslim Shias. Those are like the self-sacrificial, the ones that will just die for their religion, you know what I'm saying? And those are the ones that are predominantly found within Iran, you know what I'm saying? And therefore now how it has how this conflict between these two sides is even seen is by the fact that, you know, the US's invasion in Iran, right, was them just decapitating their leader, the Shia's leader, you know, the leader that was found in Iran, the leader that practices Islam like in that, you know, intense way where they're willing to die for their religion. And since therefore this was the leader of people who already think this way, the decapitation of their leader, you know what I'm saying, would not even tame their intention or agenda in the first place to keep on fighting to the death for their religion. So we're looking at people who hold this kind of ideology, you know, for practicing their religion, you know what I'm saying. To them it's to the death, whereas to the Sunnis, right, the ones that are affiliated with Western ideologies, you know what I'm saying, those they still are protective of America's presence, you know what I'm saying, because they share a whole lot with the West, you feel what I'm saying. So now it's like, you know, situations where the same religion are fighting against one another. They have conflict, let me just say, they have conflicting interests with one another, you know what I mean. Okay, I get that's what we were breaking down with, you know, through game theory with Professor Jang. Go check out his channel, Predictive History. That's where he breaks down a whole lot of this war, right? So, but then, you know, beyond that, I'm trying to keep the content, this whole content thing, transformative, right? Let me not spit or reiterate what he has already iterated for us, what Professor Jang has already iterated for us, right? I just want to, you know, zoom into the whole human resource aspect of, you know what I'm saying, this war, dog. Humans are needed, you know what I'm saying. A bunch of humans are needed to make what, to carry out the agendas of whatever side is involved with this war. Real people, right? Let that sink in. It's real people, regardless of, yeah, what that one represents, what this one, you know, what ideology this group of people found in this environment hold, whatever. Like, everyone is affected by this current war, you know what I'm saying, that's going on right now. And it's because, you know, a whole lot of countries are tied in because of the oil, right? But countries are tied in, countries that like would, that that might not expect themselves to be roped into this war, you may just find yourself roped in because of how your country is dependent on the oil that just like is the central factor that, you know, to this conflict. You might find yourself involved in this war and you're a real person, you're a human being. You feel what I'm saying? And beyond all that's happening is just like the concept of what people are raising their children for at this point, right? What you're raising your children for, dog. It's because of agendas like this, dog. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, yes, we have gone to a place within the modern world of people believing, you know, the blessing in having a kid, blessing in having a child, regardless of your circumstance. No, I feel like the whole programming of having the kids in whatever circumstance, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, because there's even like this, I mean, people are seeing the whole, bro, having a whole big family, having multiple children, da da da. Like, those are things that make sense in, you know, places where the wealth is present, right? The riches, they allow for y'all to have more and more kids. You know what I'm saying? But then even like countries that are rich, countries that are, you know, of a Western ideology or that keep Western standards, they might look at countries at other poor countries and be like, yo, nah, have more kids. Or, you know, not even other poor countries, they might look at poor environments within the countries that they lead and encourage those people to have as many kids as y'all can, bro. Right? So that they can use these children as human resource, bro, to go fight these wars, bro. Y'all heard the amount that was required, or the amount of soldiers that Trump is expected to deploy as ground troops, right? Maybe a minimum of 2 million, and that was just a projection. You know, it was a projection that would have made sense. It still was, you know, a projection made by Professor Jang over here. Tap into his channel, Predictive History, right? You find a whole lot of these breakdowns. You know, 2 million people required, you know what I'm saying, just as ground troops. You know what I'm saying? Not to cover the whole thing. So you gotta understand that even the agenda of people pushing, you know, even, well, pushing the whole program of, yo, having as many kids as possible is the way, right? It's, you know, kids are blessings. You're perpetuating, you know, more blessings on the world. That's because, no, it's the reason is so that when it comes down to situations where war is required, more manpower is always good, right? I don't give a fuck, like, if it's at an area where people are very much struggling, right? Where feeding more and more mouths is just like, it's war in itself. Feeding more and more mouths, it's war, but you still encourage, yo, have big families, bro. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? You have to do this. You know what I mean? Because people with money having, you know, it makes sense for actually the ultra rich to have multiple kids and stadiums worth of just like children. It makes sense for them, but even just like middle class people, well, the smarter middle class people, they just be reluctant on doing things like that. And it's within reason. You feel what I'm saying? It's within reason. It's a struggle. It's a struggle to keep it going, especially within today's economy. It's a struggle to keep all that going, but yet, you know what I'm saying, I am encouraged to have more and more kids. It's like, bro, that's like a wiser, more, you know, broken down idea of this is kept by the people who are questioning this whole thing, aka, you know, Gen Zs. You know what I'm saying? A whole lot of Gen Zs, they see, you know, they found the worthlessness of just like even, you know, living the American dream and having as many kids as possible, you know what I'm saying, because of opportunities, because of the economic makeup currently, right? It's not in their favor, dog. Why would I want to have more kids when it's like, you know, Gen Zs are questioning having more and more kids these days. Do your homework, right? And I'm talking about even the Gen Zs that are just like considered higher middle class. They question all this. But then now you see the ultra rich, they have no problem, and the ultra poor got no problem because, right? Okay, number one, I blame it on just like the mentality, the programming that the system, today's system has got us in because of agendas like, yo, there's gonna be more of us when it has to when wartime comes. There's gonna be more of us. But in terms of just like sustaining these people, these mouths that you want more and more of, it's a struggle, dog. Like, people cannot do that. So the first thing that the ultra poor is gonna be like, they're gonna be like, you know what, since we're struggling out here anyway, let's just fucking go to the war for free, dog. Let's go throw away our lives for free. Because, you know, you're nothing but a statistic at this point. You have no identity. Right? That's why your identity has to be roped into, you know, these military pockets of people that have to go and carry out the country's military agenda. You feel what I'm saying? And so therefore, with all that being said, making more and more humans is like making more and more assets, right? Things, you know, objects that you can invest in and call that assets to just generate more and more energy for me beyond my lifespan or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're nothing but assets, dog. Your assets, they make up your portfolio, your investment portfolio, and that just like makes up the kind of income that is entitled to you. You know what I'm saying? And who are you? The one that owns these assets, the one that owns these people that I'm leading within this country, right? People, like, it's just nothing but human resource. Human resources, assets, right? That I can use to my benefit. You know? So it brings everything to like, yo, what is the meaning of the human life anymore? Like, what's the value to the human life? It's no value to the self. There's no self value, right? You're only valuable to like the elites that lead you, right? And stuff like that, right? That's the value of the human being right now, currently, if you ask me. It's to accomplish things like World War III, and then because you know what I'm saying. I don't know how this war is gonna go, but clearly, bro, it's like, you know, you find even people that are willing to die for their own religion. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you willing to die for, bro? Your family? What, your friends? Your lover? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to condescend anything here. I'm just like, yo, it has to be something more than just like your individual identity, bruh. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if I made sense. Like, I was purposefully trying to ramble when it came to this section of the stream, right? Yeah, fuck it. Let's get into the comments, man. Let's see what the people in the comments are trying to like talk about, right? Just give me a second though.